Welcome back to Mining Stock Daily. Ian Wagner here with a corporate update from our friends at Tudor Gold. Tudor is a gold developer in BC's Golden Triangle. They trade on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol TUD and on the OTC under TDRFF. We are joined today by President and CEO Joe Ovsenek. Joe, good to see you again, and welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, good to see you, Ian. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys have a lot going on. You're in the middle of preparing your PEA and mine plan. You've announced your drill program for the year to start drilling at CBS and Perfect Storm. But I want to start with some news just because it's kind of been, out there in the news cycle and I'm hoping you can give some clarity around the situation with your neighbor Seabridge and their proposed tunnels that would run through your claims. The news is that the Major Mines Office of BC's Ministry of Mines sort of recently declined to advance their tunnel permit application until the land conflict with Tudor is resolved. What does that mean in practical terms? Why is it material? Just help us kind of understand what the landscape is there.
Okay. Well, a little background, Seabridge, their mill is to our northeast. Their deposits are to our southwest. And yeah, they want to run twin tunnels to access their deposits, between the mill, connect the mill and the deposits through our claims. But it's not just through, we're happy to have them run through our claims. No problem. The issue we have with them is they want to run it right through our deposit, which, out of our, we've got about, all categories. We're looking at 28.9 million ounces of gold right now with potential for more. And they would essentially knock about 5 million of those ounces out by putting their tunnels through our deposit. So, we have some lawsuits against them and they were filing for a permit. They filed a while back to be able to construct those tunnels. That's the last permit I think they need to get the tunnels going. And Major Mines, as you said, Major Mines Office came out and said, look, we are not going to make a decision on your permit to, excavate these tunnels until either you come to an agreement with Tudor that allows you to go through the property, or B, a court says that you have the right to, based on, everything that's gone on today, you have the right to build your tunnels through their deposit. We're quite comfortable in our position in the court cases. So we have two cases against them, proceedings. And we're comfortable with our legal rights, but no one wants to go to court and resolve things where you have a judge who doesn't really know anything about the situation, being, a lot of data thrown at him or her and coming up with a decision that, might make both you unhappy even. So who knows? So you want to deal with this yourself. And also there's the time you go to court, it's years. So really what we love about this is we've been saying all along, the best resolution to this is for us to sit down with the government, with Seabridge, and just come out with a solution that works for everybody. And this sort of sets the stage for that by the government saying, look, you got to come to an agreement with them or go to court. We think that's just great because we're happy to sit down, talk with Seabridge and come out with a route that allows them to do what they want to do and allows us to build a mine at Treaty Creek.
Okay. Yeah. And so just for clarity the mines office isn't denying their permit. It's also not saying they have access to it. It's simply saying we're not going to decide on this until your situation with Tudor is resolved in some way, shape, or form to the satisfaction of a court or to the satisfaction of the parties. Is that accurate or correct?
Bingo.
Okay. So in terms of those negotiations, I mean, what does that look like? Is that essentially, hey, dig those tunnels deeper, go around this way, cash for is this Strait of Hormuz style where they pay a toll to kind of come through your claims? Like, what are we talking about here, Joe?
Look, we're open to lots of alternatives. We're not dead set. We put out a news release back on October 17th of 2025, and we proposed, okay, why don't you move your tunnels? And as Seabridge would say, flex their tunnels, flex them to the north so that you bypass our deposit. But we're open to other alternatives. If they can come up with something else that allows us to get the value for our shareholders out of our deposit, look at we're not closing any doors, open to anything, and as long as it allows us to do what we want to do.
Okay. Yeah, and speaking on that, so in the meantime, you guys are not, in any way restricted on developing Goldstorm or advancing your mine plan, correct? Like, you can still move forward with everything on your guys' side?
Absolutely, we've got our PEA underway, and target is to have it completed this summer. We're going to look at an underground operation on the Goldstorm deposit. Uh, Nothing there. We filed a permit to go underground, and so we can do some tighter infill drilling on some of the higher grade mineralization underground as part of our development. That permit's in, and we don't expect it to be impacted by this at all. So, no, it's all systems go, full speed ahead for Tudor and Treaty Creek, and we're happy to sit down and talk with Seabridge whenever they want.
Okay, great. Let's move into that fun stuff, the PEA, the mine plan. You mentioned you guys are for that initial mine plan and PEAs to really target that underground stuff, and you've been pretty clear that you think kind of that the best way to add value in the Golden Triangle there is to get underground. That's where your high grade material is, and no shortage of ounces there, right? I think without having the numbers right in front of me, 5 million ounces or whatnot that you can build that plan around. Um, what is that looking like? Do you have sort of ideas around sort of throughput and again, just any kind of color around or target goals for the capex? I know, that when you start getting to the B's of billions, things numbers get high. Just kind of like reiterate for us what are you thinking there?
Well, look at our target for the PEA is we want to come up with something that, um, uh, well, just stepping back, if we look at our resource, if we look at say 125 NSR, net smelter return cutoff, we're north of 8 million ounces gold plus copper, silver. We
Right, you'd
go
be
up to
doing that concentrate,
175,
right?
up to $175 NSR cutoff, US dollar. We're north of 5 million ounces. So look at
Okay.
there's a lot of grade down there that will allow us to get going. So what we're doing is we're looking at it. Mine plans underway now. Mine planning's underway now for an operation, long hole stoping, paste backfill. Looking at 8 to 10,000 tons a day. I'd probably say probably go for the 10,000 tons a day. Uh, Try to get targeting at least in the initial years 2 to 300,000 ounces of gold production a year to make it a significant size mine and with a long life, 20 plus year mine life. So, nah, it's just a lot of potential with Treaty Creek.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the other things that we've talked about and um I wouldn't say a concern, but something that you mentioned analysts ask you about is metallurgy. And I know you guys were doing work around that when we spoke at PDAC. You mentioned there was, those development plans were in the way. Can you give us any kind of color on where that stands and what you guys are seeing in terms of recoveries?
I can't give you numbers yet, but lock cycle testing's underway. We should have results next week or two. From what we can see, everything's looking good. And we'll mesh well with our PEA and allow us to have a good return on our investment with the PEA. But
And that
yeah, it's a couple weeks maybe.
okay, yeah, we'll look to catch up with you. And that's going to be gold, copper concentrate. You send that to the port, you ship that
Yeah,
out. Like
yeah, gold copper concentrate plus for the areas that are light on copper, more of a pyrite concentrate, high sulfur concentrate. Good value in that. And you hear a lot, Straits of Hormuz shut down and China pulling back on their sale of sulfuric acid. That high sulfur content has good value because a lot of those smelters have acid plants and they pump out their sulfuric acid. So uh, yeah,
interesting.
so good demand.
Good. Actually, that brought up a question I didn't have down, but with what you guys are seeing, or with what everybody's seeing in oil, how much are you guys affected by diesel costs right now? How much does that affect your drill campaign, and could it be significant moving forward?
It's not that much from where
Okay.
we are. Yeah. Look at you're gonna have a
Okay.
bump. I don't expect it to last long, but you know, I diesel costs are not a significant part of our expenditure. They're a part of our expenditures. The big price for us is just the helicopter helicopter time is probably the biggest single factor that we deal with.
Moving to exploration, you announced plans to get out there and start your drill program at CBS and at Perfect Storm, and that's to follow up on drill programs that were happened before you joined the company, right? 2021,
Correct.
2022, geophysics, I think there at Perfect Storm. Just talk about the decision to focus on those areas. What gets you excited about those areas, and kind of what you want to accomplish with this year's program.
Well, I'll start off with what I want to accomplish, or what we want to accomplish as a team. Is look at
You want another 20,000,000 ounces is what you want.
bingo. That's what we want to. And we're not going to come out of the gate with that, but we feel there's potential for another significant deposit or two on the property. Now we have some good numbers out of Perfect Storm and CBS. There's also the Eureka deposit, which we think might be connected actually to the Gold Storm deposit. Would add, a lot more ounces as well. So there's just a lot of potential on the property, and I don't think the market realizes how much potential there is. So we want to get in there. We'll hit these deposits wherever we think we're getting the most joy. Um, we'll hit hard on that after our initial phase one drilling, and then look to come up with a maiden resource for another deposit. Target, we're not. We'd like to get to 20, but target maybe 5 million ounces to start with room for growth. But I think that will really, let the market realize, look, there's a lot more to Treaty Creek than the one zone. This is a real camp where we are.
2,000 meters at CBS, 8,000 meters at Perfect Storm. That is not a massive drill program there. I just talk about kind of why those numbers, and how you guys, funded to increase that if you sort of if you find joy there, or how are you thinking about
Yep.
that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We look at first couple holes, get a couple thousand into CBS because we can get in there earlier. It's a little lower down. While those are in the lab and we're seeing what we're getting, we'll get to Perfect Storm. We have the ability wherever we get more joy, we've probably got another 5 to 10 million meter, 5 to 10,000 meters that in the bank that we can drill on that zone. So up at say closer to 20, and we have the ability to get more cash if we need it. We're pretty optimistic about coming up with another nice resource on the property.
Excellent. Well, I'll ask then about the treasury, and just kind of where you guys are at in terms of if where you're at either at the end of Q1, and kind of if you have any plans to finance moving forward.
No plan short term. Look at it for us. We've got the cash we need for the summer program. Uh, And look, if we lunk into something big and there's time to get more drills in, or if they're available, look, we'll raise money if we need to. But now we have the cash for the program. We have the hard dollars to keep the company going for a few years. We're in nice shape that allows us to really push ahead. It's gonna be a big year for us.
Last question, Joe. Since gold's been quite volatile, and since we spoke in January, you have seen your equity kind of fall off a bit. Do you think that is that a why do you think that is? Is that just tracking gold volatility? Do you think it's just, hey, people are deleveraging? Is there anything um, that you guys are hearing in terms of concerns, or any sort of messaging that you want to get out there? Like, how do you kind of communicate this growing story to the market?
Well, on the one question, look at we feel a lot of this is just it's the turmoil in the Middle East, and once that resolves, we expect our share price to pick back up along with the gold price. And we don't know how long it's going to last. I personally don't think it's going to last that much longer, another month, maybe two. But that's I think the big impact on our share price and people de-risking. Not everyone, but some people, and it's at the margin that it hits you. You also have, whenever you have events like this, shares, metal prices coming off and everything else. The shorts get on it, and because they know there's not going to be good news till this war's over on the gold price, so they can pound the stock down. and then make some money on the way back up, cover and then the stock go long. So yeah, there's a lot of things out there that why the share price is down, but the biggest thing is the conflict in the Middle East. Now, what we need to do is get more. Well, it's one like speaking with you here today. We need to get the message out more, and that we'll look at doing that more this year, especially since there was a lot of uncertainty in our stock. That was a big overhang for us. Was this Seabridge pushing their tunnels to because they were fairly adamant that they had the right and they were going to get the right to push their tunnels right through our deposit. Now, and look, if I was in their position, I would have done the same thing. But with this decision by the government or the Ministry of Mines in our hands, this gives us the leverage we need to sit down with Seabridge and say, look, we're supportive. We want to help you get there, but we need to be able to mine our own deposit. So I think that news hasn't really trickled into the market yet. So up to us to get it out there and look, we appreciate your help in getting it there. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's good to get clarity around that situation, right? And it's especially one that people don't see a lot of, or maybe just don't understand the players involved. So, well, that's a great stopping point for today, Joe. I appreciate you coming back on, and we'll look to have you on kind of as that mine plan develops and drilling gets underway and metallurgy comes in, and catch up with you on those news items.
Yeah, look forward to it. Like I say, big year for us. Got a lot of news flow coming, and look forward to speaking again in not too long.
That is Joe Ovsenek, CEO and president of Tudor Gold. They trade on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol TUD. Thanks a lot, Joe. The information presented should not be considered investment advice. Mining Stock Daily and its affiliates are not responsible for any loss arising from any investment decision in connection with the material presented herein. Please do your own research or speak with a licensed financial representative before making any investment decisions.